Hello, everyone. This is criminal profiler Pat Brown, and this is Dear Profiler Pat, where you ask me questions and ask for some advice, and I give some, and I always hope it helps. And I hope it helps the listeners as well. If you'd like me to answer one of your questions, please do send an email to me at profilerpatbrown@gmail.com, and in the subject line, put Dear Profiler Pat. And if you're new to the channel, please do subscribe and check the playlist for the different areas of life that I give advice on and see if something is useful to you. All right, this question came into me. Dear Profiler Pat, I have a serious illness and my friends are running away. What do I do? And I want to mention it's not just serious illness that has friends fleeing. It can be you lost a child to could be miscarriage, it could be stillbirth, it could be murder, or you got divorced, and all of a sudden your friends are just hiding, running away, hiding, and you're left kind of devastated because you thought these are my friends. Why aren't they here for me at this terrible point in my life? And so let me read you the email, and then I want to talk about what I think is causing the problem and how is, in my opinion, the best way to deal with it. Okay. All right. Dear Profiler Pat, I have long-term illness and I have been diagnosed with aggressive cancer. My friend is avoiding eye-to-eye contact and is not speaking to me when we're out. She's just as far away as possible from me, like in stores and places. And then, so what you're basically saying is that this friend is acting differently than before the diagnosis and is uncomfortable being in your presence. So there's all kinds of things people do when they're uncomfortable. All of a sudden, they don't look at you as much. They avoid going places with you. They try to change topics of conversation. They don't maybe hug you goodbye. There's all kinds of things people do. They're all different from person to person. And then the letter writer says, I'm just trying not to be bothered, but I am. Yeah. It's hard when people start avoiding you, shunning you, not being there for you. It's very, very upsetting. So what do you do about the situation when you're hurting yourself, but people aren't coming there to put the Band-Aid on? They're just AWOL. Or if they're there, they're just not fully there, and you feel like you're just being, well, you're just not being cared for. At least, for God's sakes, you can care that I'm going through this, can't you? All right, so let's take a look at the situation. In real life, we have friends, when things are going well, we have friends who are only friends for certain things. Like you might have your movie friend. Yeah, they like going to movies with you, and you like going to movies with them, but they're really not into other stuff. And so if you try to get them to go to other stuff, they either will say no, or they'll go and they just won't be having a good time, and you really regret bringing them. Some people may like only certain kinds of restaurants. Maybe you want to go on a trip together, but their idea of a trip is different from your idea of a trip. And so one of you is going to be unhappy and feel like the other person's not being, wanting to have fun with you. So this happens without the illnesses and without the disasters in life. It's just the way people are. And the reality is that's because they really don't enjoy those things, or they're not comfortable with those things. We might be, but they might not be. So let's say a fancy restaurant, for example. Some people aren't comfortable in a fancy restaurant. Other people, they want to dress up and walk in and hello, maitre d', and they love to be seated, and then they're going to ask for the wine list, and they're going to do, smell the wine and shake it around, and taste it, and talk with the sommelier. And the other person's like, I'll have a beer, man. And they're very uncomfortable. So that is not really a good choice that both of you share this kind of experience together. So this is just people are uncomfortable with things. They're good at things, they're happy with things, and they're not happy with things. And those things are not good at. So when you get a disaster in your life, you will have friends who can relate to that disaster. That's why people are sent all the time to some kind of group, because that group, like let's say you're an alcoholic, your non-alcoholic teetotaling friends really do not understand you. So you go to AA, where everybody in the room is like, I understand that totally. I get you. And when you talk, they don't roll their eyes or think, this person really, yeah, they don't do that stuff because they've been there. They've been there. They've done that. They understand that. So that's a great place to go. So there are different groups which people go to when they have tragic stuff that happens in their lives. So there's grief groups. People have lost somebody. There are groups of people suffering from certain types of illnesses, so that they can go to that group and you can share ideas that you have, what your doctors have said, and what do you think about this and that. A lot of this on the internet these days. You can go to a Reddit group. You can go many places on the internet where you can go to that group where other people are struggling with the same thing. Even TikTok, they have people on there that are sharing their experience, like they're sharing their cancer journey, they're sharing their ALS journey. And some people just are there just to see what happens to them. Now, that's not a good thing. Some people just feel bad for them and want to support them. Other people have the same issue, and they want to be able to discuss that issue, and they feel like this is a place I can be. So the issue comes down to, are you someplace where people are comfortable with what you are wanting to discuss or experience? And, if you're not going someplace, if your friends are just your friends and you're not going to a special group, is this something they can handle? People can handle some things and they can't handle other things. So for myself, for example, I had one of my friends who was was diagnosed with 4-stage breast cancer, very aggressive. And she wanted me to go with her to her medical appointments. Well, considering I worked in a hospital for 13 years of my life, and I am good being in hospitals, I went with her, and she felt so relieved that I went with her, and I wasn't freaked out, and I wasn't not knowing what to do. And see, somebody else she would take would be all, I don't know what to do. I'll just stay outside. No, I was good being in there. I was good being in there, and I didn't have a problem with if she just robed and the doctor was. I didn't have an issue with that because I worked in a hospital, and that's my kind of thing that I do well, and I'm very interested in medical stuff. So I accompanied her to the doctor's appointments with her, and I spent time with her, going out to restaurants where she would just share her feelings with me, and we talked about that. Went back to her apartment, and I stayed with her for a week, and we slept in the bed together. She had I don't remember if it was a king or a queen, whatever, but we slept in the bed together, and we spent the time talking to each other like teenagers. How teenagers, lay on their sides and they talk about all the things in their life. So we shared all kinds of things. We laughed, we cried, and I think that was really wonderful. I mean, I think that really, she was so happy that I was there to be able to do those things with her. And then one day, she went in the bathroom and she had some issue, and she asked me to help her. I won't go into what the issue was. I freaked. I completely froze, and I didn't go in because that is not me. I was 100% uncomfortable with it. I'm not a person. I would never be a good nurse. People say, "Why don't you be?" No. Touching people, bathing them, massaging them. No, not me. Not good with it at all. And so I froze and I didn't go in. And to this day, I feel bad about that. Because she needed me to help her, and I didn't help her. I froze. I just did. But, and luckily she got through that situation and we went on. But I always felt bad about that because I'm like, man, I'm a crappy person. I should have been able to go in there, but it was absolutely not me. So what happens is when you have friends who get the news that some tragic thing has happened to you, or that you're going through some long-term illness, and possibly, you've got 3 or 4 stage cancers, or you've got ALS. My sister had ALS, and that was a real rough time to watch her go through that. And my other sister and I went down to visit with her, and luckily she had 24-hour care, and she had people in the room with her. So guess who didn't have to do touchy-feely things? Me. So I could visit her and sit in the chair and talk with her and share, look outside at the birdies and play with the dog. And I could go to the kitchen and get something for her. Or I could go feed the dog. I could do those kind of things. But I didn't have to do hands-on care. So she felt happy that I was there for her. And she was happy that the people she paid were there for her because they did all of those things. Certainly, I would not. So you're going to have friends who have different abilities. Some are cuddly people, and they'll be there for all, you can cry on the shoulder, they'll hug you and let you talk about all the feelings you're going through. And there's other people like, yeah, no, I don't want to hear about it. That's freaking me out, totally freaking me out, because they're not good with that. So my suggestion, just like friends, in normal situations where you just don't ask a person who wants to eat hot dogs at the ball field, doesn't like fancy restaurants, just don't invite them to the 5-star place, okay? Don't do that because it's not going to work out well. Just save them for the ballpark, and find somebody else for the fancy place. So the same thing in this situation. Think about your different friends and think about what they're capable of and what they're not capable of. It's never usually about you. If somebody doesn't want to go to a fancy restaurant because they want to eat a hot dog in a ballpark, it's not that they don't like Pat Brown or I just don't want to be with you. No, it's don't want to go to that place with me because that makes them uncomfortable. And if I make them do that, and I wonder why they're such a crappy date, this really my problem is that I put them in a situation they couldn't handle, even though I actually knew they couldn't handle it. So you got somebody there, they say you're different friends, and you have to examine whether they're the kind that can talk about medical issues and people who are going through some serious medical issues. The person who goes through that is usually frightened because the diagnosis may be very difficult. They may be in pain. They may be going to chemo and getting chemo brain and having to deal with that, and they're throwing up, and that's just not going well. They're having a rough time. Maybe they're even trying to put on a happy face, and maybe they have, whatever, but still they're going through all that. And so that person who can't handle that kind of thing is not going to be the person you necessarily want to have to deal with you. So what can they deal with? So let's say you've got the person who can let you cry on their shoulder, and that may be that person. Then you got a different person who's not also, not so, that they're not so good at maybe hugging and kissing and letting you, petting you. Maybe they're not good at that, but they're good at talking about medical stuff. Over there, you talk about your internal feelings. Over here, you talk about medical stuff. What about that person over there? Which I want to say is probably a good portion of people. So with those people, the reason they will avoid getting near you, avoid the phone calls, try to, I don't know, I'm busy that day, and you're like, why don't they like me anymore? They do, they just freaked out. So I always think the one thing you can tell people like that is say, look, call them up and say, I know I'm going through a tough time medically, and I'm going through an illness, and here's what I love. I have some people that I can talk to about my situation and my all the medical stuff and all my emotions. But you know what I could really use? I could use one person I don't ever discuss this stuff with. I want a person who just wants to go have fun with me. I want a person who it's not that we're pretending that what I have doesn't exist or what I'm going through doesn't exist, but I just want to be in the moment of enjoying something without having to talk about or think about my illness or my murdered child or my divorce. I want one person. Of course, you may have more than one person because you might have 4 friends that are just like this, but tell each one this. I want one person I can just have a good time with. So would it be okay if we could just go and have fun? Let's pick out some fun things to do, and there'll be no talk about anything to do with what I'm dealing with. And that person might be like, oh, thank God. I don't mind being with her, but I'm just terrified that she's going to start talking about her disease, or terrified she's going to talk about that divorce again, terrified that she's going to start talking about her, lost child. I mean, I don't want to be around it. But she says she doesn't want to talk about those things at all, just wants to have fun, and she wants me to not ever mention those things, and she's not going to mention it. Wow, that's fantastic. And suddenly you free up that person to be with you in a way that they can be with you. And then you're like, wow, I'm having a good time with them. And they get through a couple hours with you, having a good time. They go home, they go, wow, that was okay. I had fun with her, and she seemed to really appreciate me being with her, and we didn't have to talk about any of that stuff. I think that's probably one of the best ways to approach a situation like that. And guess what? For the person, like the letter writer, who is struggling with a lot of depressing crap and a lot of things that they're dealing with, they can use the break too. I mean, well, I've gone through certain things in my life. The nicest thing was being around people who didn't know what the hell I was going through. And I could just be a different person for that moment in time, having a good time. And that subject matter was never going to be brought up. So I just had fun, just had a lovely time. That is really worth it, I think, to both parties. And then you stop feeling that people are running away from you, because they're not anymore, because they don't mind being around you now. So if you have one person you can choose as your person that you can discuss these deep things with, and that person's okay with it, pick that person. If none of your friends or family is good at that, find a therapist. Talk to a therapist. Go to a therapy group, something. Go online. But if you keep trying to get people that aren't comfortable with that stuff to be comfortable with it, you're never going to win. All you're going to do is feel more and more lonely, because those people will start running away. And maybe they won't come back. So that's my suggestion. Have a designated, not a designated driver, have a designated communicator for your issues, well, whether it be medical or emotional or whatever. And then for the rest of the people, let them off the hook, and tell them you're going to let them off the hook. Don't just hang around them and try to pretend you're going to let them off the hook, because they don't know that you're going to let them off the hook. You got to actually tell them. You're going to say, look, I have a feeling you're uncomfortable with this stuff. And guess what? I am too. And I don't want to talk about this stuff. I want to have a friend that I can just have a good time with and not have to think about any of the stuff that's going on in my life. I just want to have a good time. Can you do that with me? And they might surprise you and smile and say, all right. And then just say, test it out, do something short, so they don't freak out. Oh my God, I got to be with her all day long. I bet she's going to screw this up. She's going to start talking. Just say 2 hours, whatever. Pick out something fun and easy to do, and go do it. And then thank them. Say, oh, that was so much fun. Thank you. I can't wait to do something else again sometime. And you walk away and they're like, didn't have to deal with any of that. That's incredible. That's great. Yeah. And then the next time you call, they'll probably be pretty comfortable, because you've already told them you're not going to make them go through that. Even though you're probably saying something, well, I have to go through all this stuff. How can it be that bad for them? But believe me, it'll benefit both of you, the other person, and you. So that's my recommendation on any of you who are struggling through things. Make sure that you pick out some people who can help you deal with things emotionally, and pick out other people just to have a good time with, and give you a break from dealing with things. So those are my thoughts. You've been through anything, put that in the comments below. And thank you for being here. And again, subscribe to the channel and send me your questions. Bye.